All right, hello everyone, and welcome to Bullhorn's first webinar of 2018. My name is Bridget Rapp, and today we will be discussing increasing efficiency using Bullhorn's admin tools. As a reminder, this training is geared towards administrators. Those of you who are not administrators, feel free to stick around. We're happy to have you. Just keep in mind you won't see the same menu options in your system. Those of you who are administrators, you may see up to 12 options in your administrator section. Today, we're going to focus on 3 that increase your efficiency. Before we officially begin, I want to personally welcome each and every one of you. I've worked directly with recruiters for over 6 years. Something I've seen consistently is your incredible ability to move quickly from one task to another, and more often than not, multiple tasks at once. The changes we're going to discuss today may seem small, but Bullhorn's ability to be customized can eliminate unnecessary slowdowns in your day-to-day use. On today's webinar, we're going to use specific examples to facilitate learning, but I encourage you to think creatively about how you can leverage today's topics for your specific business needs. Okay, so what are we actually talking about today? Today we're going to discuss updating field values, adding descriptions and hints, and customizing your database with system settings. We're going to start by talking about field mappings, specifically field values, field descriptions, and field hints. Let's start with field value. To begin, we got to get to our field values first. We're going to do that by going to Menu in the top left-hand corner. We're going to navigate to our black bar here and then select Tools. From our admin toolbox menu, we're going to select field maps, and then our field map page will populate. The first thing I'm noticing is at the top, I have a private label option with a drop-down. Private labels allow users to access the same database, but with a different look and feel. Many of us can leave this untouched, but if you do have multiple options, just be cautious you're on the correct private label. Under private label, I have a long list of all the entities I can configure fields on. Today, I'm going to be using the candidate entity for my examples, but keep in mind what I'm about to show you is applicable in all entities. To open up candidates, I'm going to click on the arrow to the left of the word candidate, and then another list populates. Let's take a look at what we're seeing from left to right. On the very left in blue, we have the back end field name. This is hard-coded, you can't edit or change it. This is just informative. To the right of that, I have a hidden checkbox. When this is selected, the field will not be visible to front-end users. To the right of this, I have label. Label is what the field is called on the front end. This is editable. However, keep in mind changing the label won't change the behavior. So if a field only accepts a certain character limit or character type, like a money field only accepts numbers, this will still be the case if we rename it. So we're not repurposing fields here, we're just given a chance to use our own terminology. As an example, my team is based out of the UK. So for last name, they say surname. I'm going to relabel that here and click Save. And now I have a familiar terminology for my team on the front end when they're using it. Same field, same function, different terminology. To the right of label is edit type. Edit type is another informative field. It's just letting me know what type of field this is. Is it text? Is it drop down? Is it a mini picker? To the right of edit type, we have required. Required is also a checkbox. Required fields in Bullhorn are distinguished using a red asterisk. Users can't save or enter a record without all required fields populated, so definitely keep that in mind before selecting a required field. They are a great way to ensure reliable and consistent data capture. Let's go ahead and make the source field required. For today's example, I'm really going to be focusing on my source of candidate and my more lucrative pipeline for candidates. So I'm going to select required here for source and then click Save. Wonderful. So as I said, we're going to look at the field values. So let's get to it. I'm going to stick with my example of source. We're going to expand source the same way I expanded candidates by clicking on this arrow. And then I can see the value list that we talked about right here. So there's a lot of values in here. I can see them by scrolling, but personal preference of mine, I don't like to scroll around. So what I'm going to do is click in the bottom right-hand corner of this box and just drag it open, just make it a little easier on my eyes. I'm looking here, and what I'm looking for is ways to kind of clean up this value list, make my life easier and more efficient. What I'm seeing are some redundancies between Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and social media. To me, this seems a bit redundant, and for today's purposes, let's pretend I recruit for an older, more blue-collar candidate who may not be as hip to social media. I don't need all of these options. So what I want to do is I want to consolidate Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under social media. Pretty easy to do. I can remove Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram here, and they'll no longer show in my value list. But before I do this, I need to make sure I don't have any candidates already using these values. Easy to do. I'm going to go to Menu in the top left. Then I'm going to go to my candidate list. Once that populates, I'm going to utilize my source column to filter and see if I have anybody using those sources. I know we've all fallen victim to having a sticky filter on, so I'm going to clear my filter first just in case to make sure I have absolutely everyone in my database pulled up. Once that's clear, I go to my source column. I'm going to select Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then filter. Again, this is just showing me the candidates utilizing these values. I have a handful using Instagram and some using Facebook, but no one in Twitter, and there really isn't a lot, so this kind of validates my idea that I don't need to be using all these different values. So what I'm going to do is use my Select All button in the top left. It's selected all 25 of my records. I'm going to use the blue button in the top right-hand corner to mass update these by changing their source, and I'm going to put them all under social media. Because remember, I want to remove Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and just house it all under social media. I select social media, click Save. Bullhorn immediately updates all 25 of those for me, so they're all under social media source. So now I can get rid of those field maps. Let's hop back to our field map in the left pane here, and let's go ahead and remove them. It's as simple as deleting them from the list. I have a bunch of extra commas here, so I want to make sure I get rid of those. And then the very last thing I want to do here, everyone, is I'm actually going to move social media. I'm going to copy that and paste it to the end of my list. I'm going to separate my values with a comma, no space, and I'm going to remove this extra comma here. Okay, so why did I move this to the end of my list? Bullhorn's going to display your value list in the order in which it appears in this box. Because I don't plan on using social media much, I moved it to the end of my list. Now let's not forget to click Save. We want to save all of our hard work here. And now I have a clean list and a required field. Awesome. So we covered value in our field mappings. Now I want to talk to you about description and hints. We don't have to travel far because these also live under field maps. So let's hop back to Bullhorn. I'm still in my field mapping. I'm still under source that's expanded. And if I look just to the left of where I just was, I can see description and hint. So what are we talking about when we say descriptions and hints? Essentially, whatever we put in here will then show on the record, in this case, candidate. A hint will show below the field, so source, below source in red, and a description will show above the field in black. So I've just cleaned up my list, and I'm really, really laser focused on seeing where my lucrative candidates are coming from, and maybe even seeing where some of our not so great candidates are coming from. So I want to let the team know how to use this new value list. In my description, I'm just going to say Facebook, Instagram, whoops, and Twitter are now under social media. So I'm just alerting my team of the changes I've made. Under hint, I want to take it a step further. So because I'm so focused on this new initiative of where my candidates are coming from, I want to let them know, A, what to do if they don't see an option that they're using, and B, to let me know. So when no applicable option available, whoops, you definitely want to spell this right because your whole team's going to see it, everyone. So when no applicable option available, select other and notify admin. Why am I telling them to notify me? Because if we're having consistently bad candidates come from one source, I want to track that. And I can only know that from feedback from my team. So I'm putting that in red because that's pretty important to me. Let's click save again. I want to save all my hard work here I'm doing to make my Bullhorn great. These changes are going to appear on existing records and new records. But just for ease of use, let's take a look at a new record. I'm going to go to add and then candidate, and let's look at these live. Source field, this is what we've been working on the whole time. I can see that it's required because it's marked with a red asterisk. I can see my description showing beautifully here. If I look at my value list, much cleaner. There's much less that I have to scroll by to get to the actual sources that I use. And I can see social media is at the bottom right where I want it. My hint is also showing here in red. You can add asterisks or exclamation points, whatever you want here, but we can see that immediately Bullhorn implemented those changes that I want to roll out to my team. Okay, good stuff. Beyond field maps, I also want to talk to you about system settings, specifically contextual help and some automatic preferences. Let's go back to Bullhorn. I'm going to clean up this left-hand pane just because I really like a clean database. So I'm going to clean those up by Xing out. And we're going to start back over by going to menu in the top left. Again, I'm using my admin tools menu. And instead of field mappings, I'm going to select system settings. This screen should look familiar to us. It looks very similar to field mappings. System settings are similar, but this is where we go to make broader changes, not just one field at a time. It's going to be very easy to utilize these. They function similar to field maps. Honestly, everyone, the hardest part is just finding the one that you want. So my tip to you is going to be to search on a broad term when you're trying to find a system setting you're interested in. It's another long list, but we're going to be able to find what we want. For my first example, I said we were going to talk about contextual help. So all I'm going to type is context and hit enter. It's a broad term, but it really narrows it down. Today, what I've decided to do is I'm rolling out a new protocol with my team in the UK, okay? And I've told them that anytime they create a submission, they need to have a checklist attached to that job order. We talked about it in our team meeting. I sent an email, but now I want to give a tangible reminder on every job order that this is our new protocol. How do I do that? Contextual help. I'm going to expand this just like we did with our other fields. By default, it's blank, but I want to fill this in with our new protocol. Before I fill that in, I want to quickly show you an existing job record. So under menu, I go to my job list. Once that populates, I'm just going to select the first one, which is, drum roll please, Java developer. I'm just going to open that up and take a look. So the space I'm talking about is right above here. I'm going to enter some contextual help here on my job orders. If I go to system setting, it's blank by default. That's why I don't see anything there. I'm going to put in here all submissions will say require a checklist. Not a lot of information, but enough to reinforce what we've talked about. And then I'm going to save my changes. Wonderful. I'm going to go back to my job list and refresh. We're going to do a little before and after here. So we saw our job before. Let's open that same job back up. And I can see that my contextual help is visible at the top. It's also right by the submission button, which is where I want to be driving this behavior. Good stuff. Let's give one more example of a system setting. I'm going to hop back to system settings on the left here. And I'm going to search on a broad term again. This example is going to be the way a job behaves when we create a placement. So do we want the job to auto close or to remain open? So I'm going to search auto. Like I said, very broad terms. I'm going to hit enter. I just lucked out and it happens to be the first one, which is really convenient for me. So auto close job on placement. Again, we expand it using our little arrow here. It's defaulted to true. So in everyone's database, when we create them, this is set to true, which means you create a placement, the job closes. When a job is closed, you can no longer submit candidates to it. That doesn't work for me. I'm in the blue collar industry. I create one job record, but I need 10 electricians to fill it. So for me, I need jobs to stay open so my recruiters can continue working it and submitting people to that job. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to false and then save my changes. This is where you really need to think about your best practices and kind of what you and your team do. You want to use the 80-20 rule. So if most of your jobs are one job rec for one position, you're going to want to leave this to true. All right, wonderful. So what I've done now is I have kind of revamped my jobs. I've put in contextual help to show my new protocol for jobs. I've also created an automation that's going to keep my jobs open so that my recruiters can continue working jobs until we have all of the recs filled. So as a reminder, what did we talk about today? We discussed updating field values. We talked about adding descriptions and hints and customizing your database with a few examples of system settings. I really hope you found today's information helpful. Defaults, automation, clear field values, these all will increase speed and efficiency for your day-to-day use in Bullhorn. So take some time, gather input from your team, and then get to work on creating the best Bullhorn for you. It looks like we have some time left, so we can go ahead and move to our Q&A portion of the webinar.
Awesome, thanks, Bridget. So the first question we received was, what would happen if I remove a value that is currently present on records in my database?
Oh, wonderful, wonderful question. So let's use our existing example. So we removed Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram from our field mappings. What if we did that before we went here and mass updated them to our new value? Are they gone forever? Does it just disappear? The great news is nothing horrible happens. They're still there and I can still pull them back. I'm not going to be able to pull them back using my source filter anymore because it no longer exists in my field map. So what I need to do is use my power search here at the top. I select my field, which is going to be source, and then I manually need to type in Facebook. It will allow me to select a value that doesn't exist in my field maps, but still select it and then run a search on it. So I would still be able to go back and retroactively pull up everyone in Facebook source and then move them to social media. Really, really good point.
Okay, next question. Bridget, the field mapping overview is great, but I feel like I'll need a reference guide when I try to get in there myself. Is something like this available?
Absolutely. So there are so many options in field mappings. It's actually one of my favorite things to train on, but there's so much which makes Bullhorn great. So what we're going to do is after this webinar, I'll make sure that we send a really detailed description and article on how to navigate those field maps and different ways that you guys can kind of leverage them for your needs.
And what's a common issue that Bullhorn sees when admins start digging around in field mappings?
Ooh, great question. So that's always something that's good to think about when you're getting in there and trying new things. You know, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Obviously, people have come before us, and let's talk about some of their common mistakes. So I'm going to go to Tools and then Field Maps just so we can kind of have a visual as we talk through this. We'll open Candidate back up here. Some common things that I'll see would be maybe marking a required field hidden. So that gets a little tricky for our front end users. We want them to capture data, but we haven't given them the field to do so. Another one that I kind of touched on was trying to repurpose an existing field. So if I renamed first name cell phone, well, it'll show cell phone and people will start putting cell phone data in there. But when I go to search, it's not going to be there because Bullhorn's hard coded. When I search this field, it's looking for first names. So you really want to be careful about not repurposing fields here. You want to use your custom fields for that. You don't want to mark anything hidden that is required. That's going to be frustrating for everybody involved.
And can I make the contextual help that appears at the top of a record a hyperlink? For instance, if I wanted to link it to an internal process document.
Absolutely. So that's a really great point. In our specific example, I believe I said I want a checklist required for everyone in submission status. So wouldn't it be cool if that text hyperlinked to the actual checklist? So you can absolutely do that. It's really simple. You actually just need to copy some text from our article into that system setting, and it'll allow it to be turned into a hyperlink. So we'll go ahead and make sure we send that article out as well, because you literally just copy that text and created a hyperlink. Really good idea. That worked well with my example too. I like that one.
Okay, everyone, that's it for the webinar today. We did receive some additional questions that we couldn't get to, so we'll be sure to follow up with those shortly after we wrap up. Make sure to mark your calendars for our next webinar, Bullhorn Search Best Practices, which will be held on February 22nd at 10:30 a.m. EST. You can register now via the Bullhorn customer portal. Thanks, everyone.